First of all, I would like to thank the Association of International Wealth Management of India, Mr. Bihari Lal, and others for inviting me and my colleagues on the panel for this very important session on credit gap. Because I would not like to take much of your time, and I would like to briefly discuss some theoretical concepts on credit gap. Because credit gap, as you are all aware, on the supply side, yes, there are a lot of assessment figures available. On the demand side, there is hardly any figures available in the Indian context. I do not know about the markets abroad, but in the Indian context, from the demand side, there is hardly anything available in the market today except the here and there news items and the Planning Commission saying that the next 5-year plan, we need 1 trillion investment in infra. So on theoretical ground, yes, there are issues. The main reason or why there is such a gap in credit is the borrowers due to acute information asymmetry between borrowers and the lenders. This is one factor. And the information asymmetries, the excess demand for credit is partly due to the fact that lenders are unable to identify the borrower, or they are not interested in charging a higher interest. In most cases, they try to ration the credit available. This is as per the research of Joseph Stigler in his publication in 1981. In equilibrium, it is said that lenders will resort to rationing credit than use the interest rate as a market clearing device. Peterson and Rajan, the present governor, described how initial asymmetry information creates adverse selection and moral hazard problem in which banks charge high rates initially and reduce the rates later periods after borrower types have been revealed. While anecdotal evidence on the severity of the credit constraint among firms periodically surface in business periodical or press information, policy discussion, evidence on the magnitude of the gap is non-existent, mostly due to the absence of appropriate data. This is This graph indicates that the credit GDP is increasing in the Indian context, but despite being a bank-dominated economy, we are not still comparable to other economies like, for example, Germany, which is also a bank-dominated economy. There it is credit GDP ratio is more than 100. In our case, we are still around 55%. So there is a long way to go, but certainly there is improvement in the credit deposit, the credit GDP ratio, as well as total investment GDP is coming down. It is good because the lesser the investment in GSEC, more liquidity is available to the market for lending. Similarly, the aggregate deposit GDP ratio is also coming down, which is not good for the economy, yeah. Of course, the figures are too small to read, but I will try to explain what I have brought out in these figures. It is all RBI published data. There is nothing unpublished data. Another measure of the credit gap is the CDR, which is the credit to deposit ratio. It is increasing. For example, if you look at these graphs, the CD ratio is increasing, but it is there is a lot of asymmetry. Some of the states, the CD ratio is as low as 30%, whereas in some states it is more than 100%. So these kind of asymmetry continues to be there. CD ratio going up is good for the economy. These figures indicate the sectoral distribution of credit with respect to their respective GDP contribution Once again, the figure is very small. First is agriculture. As a ratio, credit to GDP, it is 49.9%. But as a ratio, as a absolute percentage of contribution to the GDP, its contribution to the economy is only 18.2. Whereas in the case of industry, which is the next column, the absolute, the credit to GDP ratio is almost 89.3%. That means most of the credit in India goes to the industrial sector. But at the same time, the absolute share of industry as a percentage of GDP is only 18.7%, which used to be 20% in early 90s, has come down to 18%. Of course, the service sector contribution to GDP is increasing. It is 57.8%. Similarly, in terms of the absolute share of the GDP, it is 67.4%. So, this only shows that industry gets maximum credit. I think this graph will slightly, yeah. The industry gets the maximum credit, but in terms of the contribution to the GDP, it is declining. Only in the case of service sector, although the credit is not so as high as industrial sector, but it is contributing to a greater extent to the economy in terms of the higher contribution to the GDP. That is what I have tried to define here. Only in the case of the service sector between 89 to 90, that is immediately after the crisis, the share of credit came down, but again it has picked up. The stylized fact I would like to define, increasing trend of credit to respective GDP shows that agriculture, industry, service, and are getting affected during the crisis. Industry gets the highest credit as compared to both services and agriculture credit with respect to their respective contribution, which I just explained. This graph indicates the proportional distribution of all credit across different sectors. For example, agriculture gets 7.8%. This is as on 2013. Industry gets 46.2%. Service sector 31.4%. Housing 8.5%. Other personal loan 5.9%. And all others 4%. This has been depicted in the form of graph to show that the housing loan is increasing, which is a good sign. Other personal loans has come down, particularly after 2009. The proportional distribution of all these credit across different sectors I have tried to define. The share of all credit is highest for the industry. Service sector comes next. Housing loan is the third place. As self-explanatory, while comparing the trend, we can see that the service sector loans, housing loans have been increasing trend as compared to industrial sector. Although it is not good, but being now a dominant service sector economy, we have to accept that the service sector has to play a major role as industry is not doing well. The next table defines the proportional distribution of weighted average lending rate across different sectors. Once again, the figures are very difficult to read. What I am trying to conclude is, if you look at the weighted average lending rate, we are almost coming to a sort of a unison. Earlier, the agricultural loan is to be low, the industrial loan is to be high, but today with the implementation of base rate from 2010, you will observe that almost all the lending rates are coming almost in sync, because most of the banks are today linked their lending rate to the base rate, and there is very little leeway available to them to lend below. Otherwise, prior to 2010, most of the banks were lending to industry at below the PLR, many times below the cost of funds. But today, with the implementation of base rate, I think it is not possible. And you find that almost all the rates are going towards a similar trend, except the housing loan. Housing loan is the lowest today at 10.9, which is the weighted average lending rate, which is good for the mortgage sector. Of course, I've already explained. Post 2010, you'll find there is a lot of difference. The next table, I am trying to define the proportional distribution of credit across different types of loans. Cash credit used to be one of the most popular, but over a period, it has come down from 40% to 19.7% in 2013. Overdraft, which used to be 8.5, has come down to 6.2. Demand loan used to be very high at 10.5. Of course, it is still going up. A medium-term loan, which used to be 9.5%, today it is 15.8%. And very significant importance is the term loans have gone up from 24.9% in 2000 to 45.1%. That is, most of the banks are lending towards infra and other long-term loan. That is the analysis. So this graph depicts whatever figures have been indicated. So in a similar fashion, while considering account-wise cash credit, overdraft, demand loan, medium-term loan, and long-term loan distribution of credit has been explained. Cash credit has a decreasing trend. During 2007 and 10, the long-term loan decreased because most of the banks stopped lending to infra during 2000 post-crisis. But immediately after that, 2010 onwards, most of the public sector banks lent heavily to the infrastructure sector. And today, again, the infrastructure loan, long-term loans have gone up substantially. This is a table explaining the weighted average rate of lending distribution among of the different types of loan. For example, the cash credit, the overdraft, then demand loan, medium-term loan, and long-term loan. See, here also we will find that the interest rate is getting almost in unison, except for the cash credit, which is at 13.3%. All others are below 12. For example, overdraft is around 12%. The demand loan is around 11.9. Only the medium-term loan is 12.9, and the long-term loans are 12.8. So most of the interest rates are all determined based on the base rate, and that is the reason why you will find a similar trend in the interest rate. And that is what, once again, the